Does Barney Ross die in The Expendables 4?
He dies. He dies.
Well, in today's video, that's a question I'm going to try to answer. I'll also briefly touch upon everything we know so far about The Expendables 4, briefly touch upon the other films in the series. And this question, by the way, I made a poll in the community. About half of you guys think he dies, 52%, versus 48 who think he does not. I'm going to share some of your comments too, and we're going to go over a couple of theories and reasons as to maybe why the character gets killed and then why the character does not get killed. So anyway, make sure to stay until the end of the video, by the way, because I directly asked Randy Couture this question, former UFC champion and of course star of The Expendables. If you like this kind of content, please help support the channel by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing the video. The Expendables franchise is a series based on Stallone's own ideas, which follows a military group and pays tribute to action movies from the 80s and 90s. This series was huge, giving us the high-octane action and body count fans wanted and expected. In fact, because this franchise was so popular, there was even talk about doing a female spin-off called The Expendables, which never happened, partly because of the dismal performance of the watered-down third film in the series. I'm not so sure how great The Expendables would have been or performed though, due to lack of interest. It'd be like the WNBA of action films. Besides, if there's anything we learn from the trans community, it's that men can literally do everything better than women, including being Woman of the Year. Oh, wow! All jokes aside, and to ensure that I don't get canceled, I do want to point out that my wife is actually a lot better at a lot of things than me. So, there's that. You gotta point that out these days because of the sad state of society we live in, which is why I'm really looking forward to a new Expendables film, because it'll take us back, albeit briefly, to a simpler time where people didn't get so damn offended by every little thing.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
While promoting the DVD Blu-ray release of The Expendables 3 in 2014, Sylvester Stallone stated that if a fourth film happens, it will definitely be R-rated, unlike the PG-13 rating Part 3 had. He said, "I believe it was a horrible miscalculation on everyone's part in trying to reach a wider audience, but in doing such, diminish the violence that the audience expects." Well, that was certainly one reason. In fact, many of us watching this channel grew up in the 80s and 90s and were kids when these R-rated, over-the-top violent action movies that The Expendables pays homage to, like Rambo, Commando, and RoboCop, came out. But that rating did not deter us from watching them. It only made us want to see them more. Ironically enough, many of these R-rated films had toy lines marketed to us kids. But I think the bigger issue related to the poor performance of the third installment of The Expendables was that a large portion of the film spent too much time with the younger crew. For example, in Part 3, Barney Ross decided that he had to fight old blood with new blood, and brought in a new era of the Expendables team members, recruiting individuals who were younger, faster, and more tech-savvy, such as Ronda Rousey.
Well, that didn't work.
No, it did not. The real fans wanted to see the 80s and 90s muscle-bound heroes like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Lundgren. Luckily, we even got Van Damme for The Expendables 2 and Wesley Snipes for Part 3, though sadly, we never did get Steven Seagal for any of them. As far as Part 4 goes, Stallone has confirmed that it will be the first in a new trilogy of films. Of course, that'll only happen if Part 4 makes a big enough impact, aka makes enough money. In the theater, which I think it will, the studio learned their mistakes from Part 3, and enough time has passed where the audience has a pent-up demand to finally see another one. It has been 8 years now, after all.
Let's get down to business, see who wants to work.
Whereas the release time between the previous 3 installments were just 2 years apart.
Too soon.
Reprising the roles in Part 4 will be a series mainstays Sylvester Stallone, though in a limited role, which I'll talk more about later, Jason Statham, Randy Couture, and Dolph Lundgren. In Part 4, we have some interesting newcomers such as Megan Fox, who is no stranger to action, having appeared in Transformers as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Andy Garcia, who I haven't seen since the Ocean's 11 movies.
What?
He's been working this whole time, just not anything I personally cared to watch.
Fuck you.
He's a really good actor, though. Tony Jaa, obviously you know him from the Ong Bak films when he burst onto the martial arts scene. Iko Uwais, another guy who made a big impact when he burst onto the martial arts scene with The Raid. I believe he's pegged to play the main villain, so we can certainly expect some crazy fireworks when he squares off against Jason Statham. At least I hope he does. It only makes sense. That's kind of a fight that has to happen. Also, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who's appeared alongside Stallone in the Escape Plan series. He's likely to have a big part in the film. In fact, during CinemaCon, he shared a taped message where he said, "I love movies in theaters. This right here, this is about to be my movie. I'm taking over this franchise." Now, anyone who's been following news related to the Expendables 4 knows that Jason Statham will more or less be taken over as a lead in the franchise from Stallone. In fact, early on, the upcoming film was thought to be a spin-off of the Expendables and was even referred to as The Expendables, A Christmas Story. Of course, playing off of Statham's character's name, Lee Christmas. Jason Statham and 50 Cent have received top billing on the poster, while Stallone is billed last, following an "and," which is how the first 3 installments billed Arnold Schwarzenegger, who never had a huge role in any of the movies. This points towards Stallone receiving significantly less screen time in The Expendables 4, which makes sense if you follow him on Instagram, where he posted that he finished shooting his part early on during the production. Furthermore, Stallone also shared on social media that this will be the last time he plays his character Barney Ross in this franchise, leaving many fans, including myself, to speculate that Barney would be killed off in the series.
I'm expendable.
Of course, we've heard Stallone say similar things about his Rocky and Rambo characters, and if we learned anything, his characters are anything but expendable.
What mean expendable?
It's like someone who invites you to a party and you don't show up. Doesn't really matter.
What is this?
Your present.
Yo, I wanted a sports car for my birthday.
For example, John Rambo was supposed to die at the end of First Blood,
Don't end it like this.
and Rocky Balboa was supposed to die at the end of Rocky V.
One more round.
That would have been a shame. Footage from The Expendables 4 was shown at CinemaCon this past weekend and began with Sylvester Stallone saying that this life isn't for everyone. He then crashes an airplane through a train tunnel. Statham tries to stop him with a quick, "You're not doing what I think you're doing," but of course he is, and the crash cuts to a flashback of footage from the previous 3 films. Text across the screen over the footage reads, "It was all a warm-up for this." Various stats and footage from past entries in the series informs the audience that the previous 3 films have had seen 7,000 dead bodies and 500,000 ammunition rounds. It's hard to imagine that was just a warm-up, so we're certainly in for some hardcore action. There are sure to be plenty of fisticuffs as well, with Stallone sharing one of the bar fights Jason Statham will be having.
And we're about to do this incredible fight scene, and I just want you to see how much choreography work goes into this. Follow me a little bit. Jason's standing, and, excuse me, he's going to be using these brass knuckles to take down 10 guys in a very, very simplistic way, because I think some of these action scenes get crazy with the martial arts and blocking. I believe in a bar fight, it's just mano a mano and heavy force, brute force. I like that. It's really quite extraordinary, the craftsmanship that goes into this. But in fight choreography, see right here, they're starting to block it out. He is going to hit him, bang, and then there's going to be about 10 individuals, almost set up like bowling pins. And this creates a geometric situation where Jason can move in such a way where he doesn't have to expend energy, and it looks like he's so precise at what he does, which is mayhem.
While the plot for The Expendables 4 still remains a mystery, there's enough information to guess how Barney Ross might be seen in the film. He'll likely step down as a team's full-time leader and instead be directing the team in a similar manner as Mr. Church, played by Bruce Willis, did in the first 2 Expendables movies, and Drummer, played by Harrison Ford, did in the 3rd Expendables film. Even in such a role, Stallone is still likely to jump into the heat of the action at some point, probably during the climactic finale. As far as comments from the community go, Kurt Chastity said, "Stallone has never died before. That is his cinematic legacy." Which he has a good point. In fact, I think it'd make a lot of sense for Stallone to continue to play Barney Ross, similar to how he continued to play Rocky Balboa in the Creed series, until finally he felt his involvement was no longer necessary, such as the upcoming Creed 3. Matrix Cobretti said, "I don't think that he'll die, but I do think he'll probably be taken hostage so that Statham can be the lead and rescue him. At any rate, Expendables 4 sounds like it's going to be an abysmal dumpster fire."
Thanks.
As soon as I heard that Megan Fox and 50 Cent were cast, I knew I'd probably be skipping it.
Trust me, man, it's okay.
I think it'll make Expendables 3 look like a classic by comparison.
When they hear the kid in the house, they're like, oh no.
Hopefully I'll be proven wrong. I personally think Matrix will be proven wrong. it's not going to make 3 look like a classic. It'll have to be better than part 3, hopefully. As far as Stallone being taken hostage and then rescued at the end, I like that idea, as it still gives him the opportunity to fight and partake in the final climactic showdown.
But I like that. I like that.
John Rambo said, I reckon this is what is going to happen. They're going to do it this way. Barney dies and we go, holy shit, and then the twist happens, he faked his death for some reason, just like Fate and the Furious. Well, that's an interesting theory, and also leaves Barney available to participate in the final showdown, so I like that too. Randall Rutherford said, it's been popular to kill folks in movies now. Logan, No Time to Die, Dexter Revival, etc. Stallone has never killed a signature character yet. This would give him a chance to do that without having to kill Rocky or Rambo, but I don't know. Seems like being expendable might offer Barney a chance to sacrifice himself to save the rest of the team, maybe. I just know that sometimes it works in films when they kill the lead and other times it doesn't work. It seems to be a movie trick that's difficult to pull off in a satisfying way. Further expanding on Barney Ross dying, Cinematic Tendency said, I think he will in order to pass the baton at Christmas, Jason Statham, in that franchise. Last time I heard, that's what Stallone intends. If Ross doesn't die but retires to never be seen anymore, it lacks the dramatic effect. This makes a lot of sense and is a reason as to why I think the character may die. It will definitely make the film a lot more memorable. We need more than just big explosions. We need that dramatic hook. We've gotten to know Barney over the course of 3 films. We care about him. If they pull it off right, we'll actually feel and sense the loss that his team does, and that'll make this chapter truly stick out. We'll be more involved and on board emotionally for the team's vengeance. It'll be much more than just a simple mission. As far as my conversation with Randy Couture goes, I kind of let him know what I thought as far as that I think Stallone's character dies. And then when I directly asked him, he got really quiet for a minute and almost like winked in a way to confirm what I thought. Almost a way of like confirming my theory without saying yes. But now when I look back at it, I almost wonder if he just wants me to think that I was right about the theory when he knows that I'm wrong. I'm actually more confused now than ever.
Great job.
But as far as the dramatic impact goes, I hope Barney does die. But as far as like a fan of Stallone and wanting to see him in part 5 and 6, I hope he doesn't die. I really hope he just gets captured like Colonel Troutman did in Rambo 3 and then rescued so Barney could basically partake in the climactic showdown in the film. Anyway, what do you guys think and why? Let me know. Comment below.